Hey, what's up? This is Mike, and today we're going to talk about something a little different. We're going to talk horror movies, specifically Friday the 13th, and ask the question, how long would Jason last against real cops? But first, if you're new, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and share this with a few friends as well. Now let's get started. One thing you can count on in every slasher film is that the police are always worthless. Imagine surviving a killer long enough to find a phone that works. You call the emergency number and you get an answer. You're in a panic. You're fearing for your life. Some of your friends are already dead, so you know this guy means business. And what happens? They send one cop who gets murdered immediately. He doesn't even slow the killer down. But what would happen if the cops were actually competent? How long would a killer last against a police force that actually knows what they're doing? Tonight, we're going to take a look at Jason Voorhees, the killer from the Friday the 13th series. Well, the killer in all but two. Jason's rampage began in 1981 at Camp Crystal Lake near rural New Jersey. Not including the remake, Jason managed 150 kills and was never permanently destroyed. But in the real world, how long would a competent police force take to stop Jason Voorhees? With real response times in 1980s tech, how far does Jason get? Well, let's take a look at the stats. Jason is typically 6'3", 250 pounds. We're starting from the beginning, so we're talking burlap sack Jason, not the hockey mask undead revenant, unless of course he manages to make it that far. Spoiler alert, he won't. This is Jason, a mortal who bleeds and feels pain. Typically, he carries a pitchfork, ice pick, or a machete. Even though this isn't the nearly indestructible Jason that most people are familiar with, he doesn't become that until part 6. He's still extremely strong and durable, having survived a pickaxe to the collarbone, a hanging, an axe to the forehead, and various other injuries. And when you consider that Friday the 13th part 2, 3, and 4 all took place within a week, he has a very fast recovery time, able to sustain severe injuries and be back up and killing again the very next day. Taking on Jason will be the Warren County Sheriff's Department with 2 deputies on duty, 38 revolvers, and a Remington 870 shotgun per cruiser. They are only equipped with their car radios. The nearest backup's about 7 miles away, response time's about 8 to 10 minutes on dirt roads, and the location, of course, is the abandoned counselor training camp at Crystal Lake. Friday the 13th Part 2 is actually the first movie where Jason is the killer, so we'll start there. And in this movie, the very first kill actually takes place long before the main counselors arrive. The first kill occurs when Jason takes his revenge on Alice, the original final girl and his mother's killer. How Jason managed to find Alice and get inside her apartment is unclear, but he caught her alone, managed to get his mother's head in her refrigerator, and quickly dispatched her with an ice pick. Despite the fact that there were no witnesses and no body, Alice had a job and frequently talked to her mother, so her disappearance would have been noticed within days. And because she was the sole survivor of the original Crystal Lake massacre, this would have been a high-profile case that would have received lots of attention. And even though Jason got rid of the body, I think it's safe to assume that he's no Dexter Morgan when it comes to cleaning up a crime scene. Still, the cops have nothing, there are no suspects, and the idea that an 11-year-old who allegedly drowned over 20 years ago somehow came back and avenged his mother's death is still too far-fetched to believe. Fast forward, and a new group of counselors have arrived at Packanack Lounge near the old Camp Crystal Lake, which is now condemned and off-limits. Shortly after their arrival, the police receive a trespassing call. Deputy Winslow is dispatched. The trespassers turn out to be 2 of the counselors, Jeff and Sandra. The counselors receive a warning and they're returned to their campground. First contact. Upon leaving, the deputy sees a large man running across the road with a bag over his head. Now, this is where Alice's death comes into play. Deputy Winslow knows that this strange man is not a counselor. He was just at the campground and all counselors were present and accounted for. This individual is not with them and potentially dangerous. With this knowledge, Winslow would not have continued to chase this man into the woods alone. He would have paused and called for backup, which was a 8 to 10 minute response time. 10 minutes later, the additional units arrive, they secure the perimeter, and they enter the woods. At 18 minutes, there's still a lot of daylight, so they eventually locate Jason's shack with a angry Jason and a lot of very sharp farming tools standing outside. The cops draw their weapons and order Jason to drop the pickaxe. Instead, he charges the police and they open fire. Still advancing towards the officer, the cops who brought their shotguns put him down with buckshot. Now, Jason, of course, is still alive, but he's all but completely incapacitated. The cops secure him with 2 sets of handcuffs and hog tie him to make sure he doesn't escape. Jason is transported to a nearby hospital and treated for multiple bullet wounds. Freddy vs. Jason confirmed that Jason can be sedated, so he's operated on successfully, although doctors noticed abnormalities in his tissue and that he's already begun to heal on his own. Within 20 minutes of first contact, Jason Voorhees is captured alive. He's charged with first-degree murder for the death of Alex Hardy, and a second count when the body of Crazy Ralph is discovered. Criminal trespass, and abuse and desecration of a corpse with his mother's head. A psychic evaluation would likely determine him unfit to stand trial, and Jason ends up spending the rest of his life in an asylum under heavy sedation. So that's how it plays out. Jason Voorhees, who has 150 kills to his name and maybe thousands more if we include the Solaris space station, is stopped at just 2. Not only is he neutralized, but he is also taken alive. Hey guys, that's it for this edition of Touch Grass. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, but don't just sit and watch internet videos all day. You need to go outside and conquer life because you matter and you need to make every day matter. Now get off the internet and go touch grass.
Until we meet again!